Arab Sheikh explains what happened on October 7th, and this can't be denied because of modern technology.
On the 7th of October, let's start with that. It was a genocidal. It was against humanity. It was against the Jews, against the Muslims, against the Arabs. Support the people of Gaza, free them from Hamas and any terrorist that takes them to darkness. Because now we are in the age of access to info. You can no longer lie to me. You can't tell me that you didn't rape because I saw the footage online, HD quality, you recorded it. You posted it, you start removing it. You can't tell me you didn't burn people's houses because I went on TikTok, I can see it. You can't tell me that you didn't have those hostages. I go on the live Snapchats area, map, close, get close, I can see it. In 2003, you had the TV, that's it. One cameraman that decided exactly what you're going to see, which I believe it was the age of deception when it comes to pictures and images. But now, because we have the access, humanity understands more. And one thing I can tell you, please do not judge the people of the Middle East through Al Jazeera TV. And don't judge us by a couple of people who are sitting on their couch. They're way from the Middle East, hours away from the Middle East, miles away from the Middle East. And they themselves escaped from dictators in Gaza, dictators in Syria, dictators in Afghanistan, dictators in Iran. They live in the West, using the freedom of the West to abuse ours, to not see facts of the Middle East from the angle and the view of that person and that individual. What happened on
Welcome to the guide on how to become a pro-Palestinian supporter in a few simple steps. Step 1. It is forbidden for you to learn and educate, especially history. History tells the truth, and you are not allowed to know what the truth is. Step 2. You need to follow the absence, just like sheep, and shout various slogans like, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," without knowing the names of the river and the sea. Step 3. You need to go to every protest wearing this scarf. I don't know why, just go with it. Since you don't know what you're protesting about anyway, at least do it in style. Step 4. Because you are not allowed to learn history, you must consume all your knowledge from TikTok and Instagram. This way, you won't accidentally be exposed to the truth. Step 5, and the most important one. If you don't know what you're shouting anyway, just shout, "M Israel High." This was the guide. Hope you understood. Bye-bye.
She doesn't have any answers, just spreading propaganda.
Pay very high tuition fees, how that's going to change what's going on in the Middle East, because I'll tell you the percentage of Israel's arms that come from the UK is 0.9%. That is from the Campaign Against Arms Trade, I would imagine, whose position you pretty much support. Now, not only is it only 0.9%, these are dual-use goods, which means they're not actually arms. They're things like widgets and buttons and things that could be used on a computer as much as it could in a tank. So how is locking yourself up on campus, disrupting people's education you pay a lot of money for, when it's only 0.9% of their weapons and it's dual-use, going to change anything?
Well, that's 0.9% too high, frankly. And it's not just these widgets that you talk about. We know that drones are going over. We know that engines for drones are being made in this country. And we need to say that we can't have UK-made bombs committing genocide.
But it's not UK-made bombs, is it?
Do you not think that we shouldn't be killing 15,000 children with weapons?
But we're not. We're not, because I've just told you the statistics of what we are selling to Israel. So it isn't what you're saying at all, is it? It is a far cry from that. And actually, they essentially provide us with far more technology that protects us in terms of things like cyber warfare. So if we have a two-way embargo, then we're actually preventing ourselves from defending ourselves ourselves when we're really not sending bombs and missiles over to Israel in the first place.
Look, Alex, it's not a complicated demand. Israel is committing a genocide, and we need to stop arming them. It's not complicated.
Well, fine. If we stop selling the 0.9% of widgets and button covers that we're giving them, then that's not really going to change the picture of what's going on in Israel at all. What it is going to do is prevent you from getting an education. On that matter, I'd quite like to inquire where you're getting your information from. What are your sources of news?
Well, I get news from lots of different places.
Such as?
I can send you some information over afterwards.
No, I'm just asking you where are you getting inspired to do this campaign? What are you reading? What information are you getting that makes you want to give up your education, lock yourself on a campus when you pay a lot of money and privilege to go to a university in the Western world? I want to know what it is you're reading that makes you want to do that when I think it's pretty balmy and isn't going to change anything. So explain to me.
Alex, I think that you've managed to kind of disconnect from the fact that what I've read is that 35,000 people have been killed. That's information I've read, which is an absolute fact.
Where do those? Okay, is it an absolute fact? Where do those statistics come from?
Well, those statistics are not disputed. Those statistics are coming from major news sources.
No, those statistics are coming from Hamas. They're the people who give the statistics. And how many of the 35,000 that Hamas say have been killed are militants, and how many are members of the public?
Well, 15,000 of them are children, Alex. And, you know, the fact that we're arguing over numbers at the moment suggests that you think that there's a reasonable number of people to be killed.
No,
and
what I think there isn't. I'm not saying that
maybe it's higher, maybe it's lower. There is not an acceptable number of people, innocent people.
What I'm asking, if you're going to jeopardise
a genocide,
if you're going to jeopardise your education, what I was asking you is, if I was going to make a sacrifice that was going to potentially affect my future, waste me thousands of pounds that I'm going to have to pay back in tuition fees, disrupt life on campus for other students, I would want to be sure that I'm basing it on something that I understand and I have researched.
Somebody outside your door that already killed one of your children, and then they're standing outside the door and say, we're not going to stop till we kill the rest of your children. That's where we are. So many of us are feeling something that we've never felt before. I had one of my friends say, my daughter said, is there going to be another Holocaust? And a lot of friends saying, I want to take my mezuzah off, I'm frightened. The percentage of people that don't think the Holocaust existed is stunning. And as I said, this was not thousands of years ago. My question, and what I was asked the other day, why? Why the hatred against Jews? Why is it? And why do people feel that we deserve it? This is all coming from young people. The woke generation, the super woke generation, is ignorant about a lot of things. This spike in anti-Semitism, and it's up 400% since 1,400 innocent Israeli children, babies, mothers, grandparents were slaughtered and raped and beheaded and burnt. You have to say that out loud. And as a result of that, as opposed to empathy for Jews, the hate went up. And the level of hatred, and you know, it's interesting, you put in, we used things like anti-Semitic words. Those Cornell thing, what was put on the board is, if you see a Jew, follow him home, slit his throat, we've got to get rid of the rats on campus. And then they went, and if you see a woman, a piggy woman, Jew, rape her and throw her off a cliff. There's a level of...
That's anti-Semitic. Oh,
no, that's worse. That's violently inhumane. Anti-Semitic is, I don't like Jews. Oh, I think Jews are different.
I hate them.
By the way, you...
Sorry, you've had your time. Go for it.
Well, I just want to say something, in a rare point of agreement with Brianna, that I agree that we should think about a world where Arabs and Muslims and Jews can live together in a peaceful civil society, but fortunately that place exists. It's called Israel. Now, my solution is very similar to Michael's. There are times in history when a particular group suffers such a massive military defeat that it creates ripples of discrediting of this kind of approach. And there needs to be a kind of reckoning for Palestinians to give up on their 100-year delusion that their freedom and that their sovereignty depends on the elimination of Israel. And I know that you are coming, Brianna, from a very good place where you say, well, everybody should live in peace in one state from the river to the sea. But in fact, what you're doing is you're feeding the delusion that's only going to get more Palestinians killed. What friends of Palestinians should say is very simply, this is never going to happen. You're not going to eliminate Israel, except half a loaf. And Israel changes on a dime. They have elections, it seems, every 3 months. So the point is, and by the way, the last government before this one had for the first time an Arab party in the ruling coalition. There are Arab Supreme Court justices. So if there was a viable Palestinian leader that said, all right, let's do it, let's negotiate a deal, I am sure the Israelis would say, great, because they just want to get on with their lives.
She is absolutely correct.
So many other people in the world.
How likely
to America?
My first and foremost thought is that if any American citizen is chanting death to America, they should not only be arrested, but deported out of this country immediately. And if you're not an American citizen, you should not be here to begin with, nor should you have the privilege to be chanting death to America in the only country that will not deport you for saying so. Secondly, all of the ceasefire now activists suddenly don't call for a ceasefire as long as the rockets are pointed towards Israel. This goes back to the selective outrage that I keep on pointing out time and time again. These same activists that stood so harshly against Iran for their mistreatment of women are now praising Iran in their endeavor to kill innocent Israeli civilians. These activists, they seek almost commonality in their ludicrous beliefs just to find their sense of community because they lack attention, and this is how they receive it.
And it's a very good point, Bethany. I mean, the whole thing is that
Israel. To get that off my chest. The rage just builds up and I just have to let it out every couple of hours. What did you say? Fuck Israel!
Hey Nina, I'm a stand-up comedian from Israel, and I got a few notes here because as stand-up comedians we should help each other and make each other better. So let's start. First of all, that's not stand-up comedy. That's just yelling hateful shit about Jews on stage, and we already know who did that in the 1930s. And as a stand-up comedian, I would expect you to have your own original material. I think we can all agree that was terrible, but then again, I've seen Muslims doing way more terrible things with their rage, so good for you. Love the criticism. I wish you would criticize more countries in the Middle East, but obviously you can't say that and stay alive, so I'll let that slide. I think the idea that is funny or have any connection to stand-up or humor is more fictional than the Palestinian state. All jokes aside, I would love to buy a ticket to your show so to see the money goes directly to you and not to building terror tunnels in Gaza. I love the fact that your page says comedy and boxing. I think you should focus on boxing because at some point you're going to get married and you should know how to defend yourself. Peace. I hope that helped, even just a little bit. You're more than welcome to come and perform in Israel, because in Israel, a woman on stage is a show. In Arab countries, a woman on stage is probably an execution. So, God bless you. Good luck with your future endeavors. I'm Israel Chai. Peace!